Hello.
Hi, Mario. Get the Woche.
Good Woche.
Where are we holding?
30.
We're on 31.
31. 31.
Oh.
I'm gonna try to do 2 blot tonight to catch up.
All right.
And then tomorrow night will be 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay, Lamed Aleph, Mishnah. Meviyim eitzim min hasodim min hamakunas. If you need wood for fuel, and Erev Yontif, you piled up wood in a field, as long as it's within the tchum of Yontif. By piling it up Erev Yontif, you obviously were gali daita that you're relying on these. So therefore, you removed it from the din of muktzah. You were mezamein it. Umin hakarfeif afilu min hamafuzer. Now, we will define what a karfeif is. A karfeif could be like a courtyard that's fenced in, and people store things there. Now, that's not like a sodeh. It's more like a chotzer. So therefore, even if the wood wasn't piled up, if it was scattered, you'd be allowed to take that wood on yontif for as long as it's protected by a fence. So mefuzorim, you still have it in mind as a mezuzah, therefore it's not muktzah. And the Mishnah goes on to explain ezeu karfeif kol shesamuch la'ir de Rabbi Yehuda. It has to be near the city. If it's far away from the city, then it would be treated like a sadeh, and it would have to be, gathered. Rabbi Yossi says it doesn't need to be in a city as long as it has a key, and nobody else can go in there. I feel it, even if it's far from the city, but it's got to be. It's got to be b'toch tchum Shabbos. It's got to be within 2,000 amas.
Who is the iPhone? Is it your son-in-law?
Oh, that's probably my son. Is he in?
It says iPhone, so I don't know who
Yeah,
it is.
that's my son-in-law.
Okay.
It's not Steve Jobs?
From the cloud.
Okay. That not like the Mishnah, he says even in a karfeif it has to be sort of piled up. Our Mishnah clearly stated that if it was in a karfeif, it could be spread out. So the Gemara answers, it's not a reliable Mishnah. It's a Mishnah that's only according to one Tana. We don't hold like that Tana. The Tanya, Amr Rabshim ben Elazar, the Beisham Beisil don't argue that if you're in a field and you have wood that's scattered and that's clearly muktzah. And there's no debate. Excuse me. If you have a karfeif and the wood is gathered, that's clearly mezumin. The machlokes is when it was scattered in a karfeif, or even gathered in a field. So there's a das yochid that holds that has to be gathered even in that it could be spread out in a karfeif, but we don't hold like that. Branches of reeds or grapes, even though they've been gathered together and they're in one place, Kiven the imidli zika mevadaluhu, since they're very light, and if the wind comes, blows them away, even though they're gathered, they're viewed kemafuzorim dami. And therefore you would not be able to use them even in karfe fasuri. However, if you placed a kli on it to weigh it down so it won't blow away from Erev Yontif, so that's clearly you were mezamein it, and it's not muktzah. Shulchan Aruch says you cannot bring wood from a field even if you gathered it. Erev Yontif. And also a chotzer, you can do it if you gathered it in the chotzer, if it has a fence. As long as it's within the Tchum Shabbos. And if you gathered these lighter things, even in a karfeif, it's also, unless you put a kli on it, exactly like the Gemara. Ezeu karfeif, iboilu, hechi kamar. What exactly is the language? Kol shesamach le'ir, it's got to be close to the city, and v'hu de'isle pochasas, and it has to have a key. V'as Rabbi Yossi l'meimer kiven de'isle pochasas fil b'toch tchum Shabbos nami. And maybe Rabbi Yossi is coming to say that if as long as it has a key, it doesn't have to be close to the city. As long as it's within Tchum Shabbos. Or Yidim Achi Kamar. Kol Shesamach Li, as long as it's near a city, then Bein Di Isli Posachas Bein Less People, then it doesn't have to have a key. The criteria would be closeness. V'as Rabbi Yossi L'meimar, he gives you both kulas. Afilu B'toch Tchum Shabbos, doesn't have to be close, as long as V'davke Disli Posachas. What does it mean? If it's near the city and you don't have a key, can we not use it? Toshma. As long as you have a key, he gives you both kulas. That as long as it's near the city, you don't have to have a key. And even if it's not near the city, as long as you have a key, it works. Mishnah. Koiros are wooden beams that have been set aside for building purposes. So it's not mezumin for burning purposes. So you would not be able to chop that wood on Yontiv. Let's say I have a beam in a house and the house fell in and the beam broke, but it broke on Yontiv. So it was not prepared from Erev Yontif, so it's muktzah. Then, when you do have wood that's capable of being used, ein mevakin lo b'kardom. Kardom is like an axe, but we'll see. On one side of this is it had an axe blade on one side and it had like a pickaxe, like a narrow, sharp on the other side. So that you couldn't use with a kardam, v'lo b'megeira, not with a saw, v'lo b'magal, not with a scythe. Ela b'kupitz, you needed a shinui. Kupitz again is that big knife that the butchers would use to chop up a carcass. So since that's a shinu, you could use that. Now, how freak the Gemara of Amrit Reisha and Mavakin Klal? Why are you giving me techniques of what you can use to chop when the Reisha of the Mishnah says you can't chop at all? There's an emendation that we need to make. There's some words missing. We have to put some extra words in. If you have an area of wooden beams gathered for building purposes, so that you can't cut. Or a beam that fell on Yontiv. It was not prepared. And even though it's in broken fragments, technically you think you could use it, but it was not ready. Bein hashmashas was not set aside. Bein hashmashas for that. Aval mavakim in akor shenishba me'erev yontiv. A beam that broke erev yontiv, so that you could cut. Now, how do you cut it? Kardom is this double, one side is an axe, one side is like a pickaxe. The loba magal, not with a scythe, loba mageir, not with a saw, elaba kupitz. You can't chop wood from a gathering of wooden beams for binyan, because it's muktzah. And the Mishnah said, "V'lo b'kardom." Amrav China bar Shalmi Mishmei Derav lo yishanu ela b'nakvus shala. You cannot use the flat side. That's the axe side. The sharp axe side. But the zachar shala, but the what's called the male side, which is the sort of the sharp, narrow end, mutter. So pshita b'kupitz nan. So of course you can't use it. It said the Mishnah b'kupitz. Maybe a kupitz that we understand you can use. Aval kardom v'kupitz. Ema migu dahaigisa osr haigisa nami osr. Maybe if you use the kardom, maybe they ushered the male side because of the female side. Kamash malon that we don't. Viki di masinol seifa. The Mishnah said you can only use a kupitz. You can only use the male side. Pshita, it says very clearly, lo b'kardom. Ma b'sei ani mile kardom. Aval kupitz v'kardom ema migud ha'gisa shari ha'gisa nami shari. Maybe since that side is permitted, maybe the other side would be permitted. Kamash blondet, no. Only the male side is permitted. Mishnah. Baishu mole peros. You have a house that's full of fruit on yontif, v'nifchas, and a hole was made in the house. Noitel mim koim abchas. You can reach into the house through the opening that was created on yontif. Don't say that the peros were muktzah. That because, and you wouldn't have been able to get it unless you had made a hole in it. Because technically you can't make a hole on yontif. And therefore you would say it's a hesach hadas, he has it out of his mind. Well, since the opening up of a hole is not an issur deraisa, says Rashi, because the Gemara is going to tell us how it works with bricks, so it's not considered a muktzah. Rav Meir says you can even make the hole yourself. So afraid to go out, why isn't that considered the opposite of binyan, called soiser? You're being soiser in oil. So malachim min haTorah. Amrav Nechumi Barad Amar Shmuel Ba'avir Delivni. We're talking about bricks that have been piled up one on top of each other without cement in between the bricks. So it's not considered like a binyan. Therefore, by removing it, it's not sasira. More says, it's not so. Amrav Nachman Hani livni the Iser mibinyana. Bricks that have been left over from a building site are not muksan Shabbos. Shari l'tatul b'shabta. Why? Oil v'chazil mizgalayu. You can sit on it. You can use it to sit. However, shraginu, if you pile them up one on top of another, so vaday aktsinu. If that was piled up Erev Shabbos or Erev Yontiv, it's muktzah. So how can you tell me that just because the bricks have been piled up without cement, you can remove them? Amrav Zera, b'yontiv Amrav alo b'Shabbos. The permission is only Yontiv, not Shabbos. Today, the poskim say bricks are always muktzah because we don't sit on bricks, so it's always going to be muktzah. Rabbi Meir says you can remove the bricks to make a hole in the house. Beyond Tavan Avalo b'Shabbos. Okay, Amar Shmuel. Choisamais shebekarka. You have like doors of caves that are sort of embedded into the ground, and they're tied with ropes. Matir, you're allowed to undo the ropes to open up the door. Avalo mafki avalo chotech. You cannot cut it, the ropes, or remove the ropes from where they are. You can just undo it.
Here it says in English, he may unravel or cut the rope.
No, avalo mafkia velo chotech, Shmuel says.
Oh, okay.
You
So
cannot
it's wrong.
cut it. Now, shebekalim, now we're moving away from doors, but if you have a kli, then it says matir umafkia v'choitech. Then what you're reading, Mario, is correct. Then you can undo and you can cut. Echad b'Shabbos ve'echad yontif.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So when it's a kli that is sort of connected with a rope, meisvei, I'll ask you a kasha. Choisamas shebekarka, something that's in like a door in the ground. Here it says b'Shabbos matir. You can undo avalom avkiv v'lochoitech. Beyond matir avkiv v'choitech. Here it says on Yontif you can undo and everything, including the doors, not just kalim. So it's a kasha. The Gemara says, "Hamani Reb Meir." It's a different Tana. Reb Meir, Domer, af poiches lechatchila v'noit. Like we saw in our Mishnah, Reb Meir is mekel, who allows you to remove the bricks, even lechatchila. However, pligi rabbanon alei. The rabbanon argue v'ano damri rabbanon, and we say like the rabbanon. Afraid the Gemara, mi pligi rabbanon alei b'chois mishbekarka. Do the chachamim argue with Reb Meir regarding these seals in the ground? V'atanya moedim chacham Reb Meir. B'chois mishbekarka sheb'Shabbos mater v'lo mavkiv v'lo yichoitech, but b'yotav mater mavkiv v'choisech. It seems very clear that the chachamim agree with Reb Meir. Okay, Mario, let's close off.
Okay, hold on.